What is the largest group of people you have been naked in front of? How did you find yourself in that situation? 3 doctors and 30 med students. I went to my doctor because they suspected I had testicular torsion. It is supposedly where your balls wrap around themselves and can end up killing one or both testicles, resulting in removal. So I'm sitting in the doctor's office and in walks his physician's assistant and she asks me to drop my pants. She feels around a bit, which is extremely painful mind you, then I see a horrified look on her face. She instructs me to immediately go to the emergency room across the street and she would call ahead for me. I make it there and am immediately rushed back where 3 doctors are standing. One tells me that I have come to a teaching hospital and wants to know if I would be comfortable with some med students to come in for my exam and I consent. I didn't realize there would be 30 friggin' people gazing upon my dong and extremely swollen balls, I mean like grapefruit-sized balls. The guys looked horrified and the women looked concerned. After I had my balls felt up in front of a large crowd, I had an ultrasound done during which my balls unraveled themselves, causing me to throw up and pass out. The tech doing the ultrasound managed to dodge the stream of vomit. Great day. Club in Mexico in front of 50 to 75 people. Random pulled me up on stage, made me lie down, took off my shirt, pulled down my jeans, ripped open my boxers from the pee hole, poured beer all over my junk, flipped me over, spanked and shoved me back to my seat. All for $1. I wasn't even drunk yet. What a bargain. By Grapthar's Hammer. I streaked a football game in HS with about 1,500 people there. My friends and I all did it at various games throughout our senior year. It culminated with my friend getting caught and threatened with felony indecent exposure, having to register as offender, kids at the game or something, if he didn't rat on all of us. Long story short, he didn't rat. No charges filed. Made the school and local paper. Edit, thanks for the karma. And yes, he is a good man, stayed true to his friends in the face of adversity. And we're still good friends almost 15 years later. Edit number 2, I cannot remember why they decided to not charge him. He was, pun intended, of his prom and graduation privileges, yet that pales in comparison to being an offender. Also corrected some typos. Final edit, this is awesome. Who would have thought it would blow up like this? I've never had a top comment, so much pressure. I feel like I owe you guys for all these internet points. This was a youthful prank with no criminal intent. I am thankful it was at a time when this sort of thing was laughed off. The world has changed in the 13 years since. In response to some of the question, 1. I went to a school in California near the beach. 2. Yes, we thanked our friend for not giving us up, though we gave him for not being fast enough to get away. 3. Not a lawyer, but I think the offender/felony come from the amount of people crowd and also that there were kids present. 4. Sorry to those whose friends weren't so lucky, there are plenty of those who deserve offender status but not for something like this. 5. Thanks again. Also, only a small percentage of people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you end up enjoying this video, consider subscribing with notification on, it's free, and you can always change your mind later. Back in high school when I was a freshman, I was in marching band, and we went to Lake Charles, Louisiana for a competition. It was a 2-night overnight trip, with the whole band staying at a local motel without our parents, so it was a pretty big deal for us. One night, the seniors in our brass section convinced us all that it was a tradition on these trips to run around the motel streaking. So we all gathered in one of the motel rooms, naked, and ran out the door yelling. Well, not really, because the upperclassmen didn't actually leave the room. Instead, they just closed and locked the door. So we were suddenly just a bunch of naked freshmen, standing outside in a public motel, yelling like idiots, having no idea where to go and unable to get back into the room. I have a feeling I wasn't the first or last freshman to fall for that one. Edit, evidently, judging by the 100 comments that made the same joke, I should have let off with one time, at band camp. Around 12 to 15, modeling for a figure drawing class. It was great, especially for $20 an hour. Edit, good lord, thanks for making this my top comment guys. I thought you meant 12 to 15 was your age. I was worried. Sorry this is so long, but here it goes. So this was a while ago, I was in high school and it was during our summer break. A couple friends and I were out on a little aluminum fishing boat on a lake, just hanging out and occasionally doing some fishing. A moment came when I had to pee, so being the dumbest teenager I was, I stood up on the bow of the boat, pulled down my pants, put my hands behind my head and started to go. I closed my eyes and enjoyed the freedom I was experiencing, and my friends thought it was pretty funny. Then I opened my eyes. The boat had turned around and was facing a beach full of families and children, and there was a rather large number of parents making their way towards the water. We were less than 100 yards away. I quickly sat down and pulled my pants up, while yelling at my friends, who were currently dying of laughter, to get us moving. Then someone yells from the beach, "Are you Senor_Tucan?" Turns out she was a manager at a restaurant a good friend of mine worked at, and had seen me come in several times. She knew who I was. They had by this time called the sheriff over, who was also on the lake, and I had seen him coming in on his boat. So without waiting for my friends to get us back to our cars, I jumped overboard and swam mostly underwater to the shore, snuck through the woods to the parking lot behind the beach, got in my car, and drove away. My friends spoke to the sheriff, but nothing happened and I was never contacted. I still avoid that restaurant. TLDR, pissing in front of children at the beach makes local restaurant management unhappy. 20 to 30 people. Hotel bath in Japan. Everybody just washing themselves clean. No biggie. Becomes pretty normal after you do it a couple of times. About 85 to 90. Weekend kink party at a 200-acre dungeon, so most of us were naked. I don't think my wife put on clothing the entire weekend. Edit for clarity, the building itself isn't that large, it's a 200-acre property with a couple barns used as dungeons and lots of bondage stuff out in the woods. Okay, a statement that starts out with weekend kink party at a 200-acre dungeon cannot be left unexplained. So do tell, just what the hell was this event you were at? Parties like this are fairly common if you know where to look. There are always house/semi-private parties going on every weekend in the major cities, and about 5 or 6 times a year there are larger, 50 to 100, gatherings. My state doesn't have a particularly large kink community, but if you go to some of the good states, CA, Florida, Illinois, etc., there are very large organized communities. A lot of pro-doms build their own private dungeons. They often like to do this in a more rural area so they can get a little more privacy. This particular one goes on once a year and is generally a lot of fun. My wife and I tend to meet a lot of great people there. Most of our current circle of friends, and 3 or my 4 renters, I met through this event. As far as what the event is, it's basically a free-for-all for any kink, fetish, play. Split to 2 different times. One in college, I was a model for a figure drawing class. It was a ton of fun. They let me pick what music I wanted to play, chose very artistic and modest poses, and the art was always amazing to see. I think there were about 20 in the class. 2, while living in Finland, I got pretty used to the concept of, because they are naked all the time. They invented the sauna, and partake in this incredible and awesome pastime twice a week. I remember sitting with a bunch of people in the sauna, then running out and jumping in a super clear lake. Back and forth for hours. They are okay if you wear a bathing suit, but prefer you to not, because the toxins in the suit are bad for the environment. They are very environmentally conscious there. Edit, grammar. Also, they aren't naked all the time, it was just more than the average of what I will ever see in my lifetime. About 150. I signed up to do a 24-hour play festival where one person in each play had to get naked at some point. I knew what I was getting into, but it was still really scary. I was so worried I was going to go full bone in front of all those people. So we practiced and got it down. It was an okay script. Turned out, it didn't really end up being that terrifying. It was just like wearing any other costume, except it fit really well and everyone was curious about it. I was about 18 to 19 at the time. Me and a couple of friends were out partying in the woods. We played some weird drinking game that involved relieving yourself of a set of clothes. Ended with me and a few other guys being butt naked, while the girls were too shy to even remove their shirt. I rate the night August 10th IGN employees. About 30 people. I was on a camping trip with my crazy running club and we were playing a round of flip cup. I'm not really the big type, as I feel that my body is mine and if you want to see it, you have to earn the privilege. But I am, or was, really good at flip cup, so it seemed like a pretty low-risk scenario. Except the rest of my team was a bunch of amateurs. Jesus Christ, you've never seen such poor cup flipping. We played and both teams were getting close to naked. It reached the point where I was in not but spandex shorts and a sports bra, and once again my team blew it. I decided to ditch the spandex first, as I believe that everyone looks more or less the same in the arsehole region, everyone has a butt, and 50% of people have labias, and unless you have your pubes shaved into a microphone or something then they pretty much all look alike. Things were looking dire, but I felt confident that I would survive with my sports bra still on. But then Pedro, that dumb worthless mother, took like 18 tries to flip his cup and even as the team's anchor, I stood no chance at making up for stupid Pedro. Goddammit Pedro, if I ever see you again I will cut you. We lost, the sports bra came off, and I was naked. Pedro.